Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jay Helms. I'm the founder of this podcast and movement known as the W2 Capitalist. We are here to help you not only navigate the W2 Capitalist world as you climb the corporate ladder, but help you build wealth through real estate investing for yourself and for your family. And I got to bring it on Aaron Fragnito, right?
Nailed it. That was great.
Aaron. How many times have you heard that?
It's been a while. When that first came out, I got it all the time, but
That is one of the funniest skits. I'm probably gonna go watch this after we finish. I need a good laugh. But Aaron is a real estate investor based in New Jersey, also invests in New Jersey, focuses on syndication, multifamily. And here's one of the things that I love about Aaron is when he sent over his bio, he was like, okay, here's the deal. It's just straight bullet point, straight thing. So I'm going to run through this real quick. But you're a co-founder of People's Capital Group, also known as PCG. PCG currently holds a $10 million portfolio. You're host of the New Jersey Real Estate Network, a licensed New Jersey realtor, and a full-time real estate investor. You also host the
passive cash flow podcast.
I totally messed that up.
I got to add that in there. I got to add that to my bio.
That is it. Passive cash flow podcast. Aaron has completed over 250 real estate transactions, totaling more than $40 million in real estate in his career. So, Aaron, how long have you been involved in real estate as a realtor or as an investor?
Well, about 10 years. I got licensed in 2010 as a realtor. That was actually my first step. I made a list of what I wanted. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad around graduating college and actually moved out to Colorado for 6 months to teach kids how to ski. And I read David Lindahl and Trump University and realized how easy it would be to start my real estate investment company, and just really easy peasy. So, I made a list. I want to get to $1 million in net worth in real estate with $100,000 a year in passive cash flow. And I said, well, I don't have any money or know-how. How am I going to get there? So I need to make connections, team up with people smarter than me, team up with deeper pockets, learn how to raise capital, learn the industry, learn transactions. And so, okay, well, I'll get started with getting my license, as a realtor. And that's what I did. I moved back to New Jersey around 2010 and got licensed and made about $500 in my first 6 months.
Yeah, and how did that first 6 months make you feel?
Terrible. I mean, it was the hardest 6 months of my life, probably. I joked about that with my wife and my partner today. How it's hard right now with everything going on. It almost feels like those days when you were getting started, like. The phone's not ringing, now the company's moving and churning and burning, and it's crazy when things slow down, and it's kind of scary, but it was tough.
For point of reference, it is May the 5th. Hey, Cinco DeMayo. Happy Cinco DeMayo to you if you celebrate that. But it's May 5th. We're in the middle of this COVID era, if you will. And before I hit the record button and forgot how to count down from 3, or actually the number of fingers counted up to 3. We were talking about how different the markets are. You being in New Jersey, which is, I heard it labeled the other day that New York, like the Northeast part of the country, is like the epicenter of epicenter.
Epicenter, yeah.
Epicenter. All
Epic
right.
Center, bro.
Epic Center. Oh, no, it's the epicenter of, the epicenter of what's going on with COVID. And you started going into, you have a residential side of your business too, where you've had a lot of things go on. And one of them was one of the buyers, potential buyers, actually passed away from COVID, right? So there's
one of my tenants had passed away, and now he was, I think, in his 80s or so, but yes, a very crazy scenario, where one of my tenants actually passed away from COVID-19. Another one has it. We're working out, obviously, payment plans with any tenants that have also fallen behind. I mean, overall, though, we're actually at about 90% collections on our buildings right now, which is a testament to the strength of our management company. And that's, really our competitive edge, is that we have our own management company and manage everything in-house here in North Jersey. But yeah, man, there's no doubt about it. The other half of our business is flipping houses and wholesaling houses, which is the residential part of our business, and that is struggling right now. You know, we have about I have about $350,000 of equity I was about to cash out on about 7 transactions, and man, you know how that is. You know, you kind of counting your chickens and they're about to hatch, and the spring market's coming. And, you know, as house flippers, the spring market's where you make your profit and you get your cash, you get your profit, you know, and as a small business owner, we work so hard for that moment, and it'll come. We still have the assets, you know, the bills are still coming in on them, and the buyers' mortgages didn't work out. But I think a lot of them are going to come back around, and I'm looking forward to the market getting back to normal. But, yeah, it's tough times in the residential department, but the cash flow is still coming in on the multifamily, I got to say.
Yeah. When you say normal, how long do you think it's going to be until things are back to normal in your area, right? In the markets that you service?
I mean, lucky for me, I do actually have a crystal ball. I keep it in my backyard.
Dude, tell me the lottery numbers, and then we can go buy a bunch of real estate.
Yeah, they don't give you lottery numbers. Oh, I wish they did. They just give me predictions on the real estate market. That's how I've done so well. That's my secret, my deal with the devil.
Yeah.
Right. So, nah, man, you know, I think that by July, it doesn't really matter what the government tells us anymore, what CNN tells us anymore. You can't I'm a small business owner. I like to go outdoors. I like to live my life. It's going to get to a point where we just have to go back to running our business and living our lives. And we're going to take the right precautions to do it, and wearing the mask and washing the hands and social distancing. But, you know, it's just ridiculous. I was talking to someone who cuts hair the other day, and he's like, listen, people are calling me for haircuts, and I'm going to their house and I'm wearing a mask and they're wearing a mask, and we're not shaking hands, and it is what it is. And when I get back in my car, I sanitize and I go on to my next. And if the police found out about that, they'd arrest this guy. You know,
which is ridiculous.
Ridiculous. You know, we live in America. You can't arrest someone for stopping by and cutting hair on your back deck. Yeah. But that's what it's come to, you know. And as I won't bring politics into this, but let's just say less government, I think, is better government. And overall, it's pretty scary what we're seeing right now with government control.
You and I are aligned in that area for sure. Less government is better. And there are a lot of conspiracy theories out there of why and how and all this, but it basically comes down to, you know, what you said. Regardless of who's behind it, what's behind it, eventually Americans are going to say, okay, enough is enough. I'm going back to the way I want to live my life. Blah, blah, blah. You know, it's going to happen. We're already starting to see some of that now, right? And we were talking to some friends who we live near the beach. They don't. And they basically said, hey, we're going to the beach this weekend. Like, all right, sounds good. You know, it's up to you. But yeah, it's crazy. It's awesome to see businesses pivot and move to do what they need to do. Right. Sure. And I think it's going to show the government that we don't care what you tell us. We're still gonna be Americans, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of politics, I think, that goes into it. And it's difficult to understand what the real rules are and how much feet do we keep and what drugs are actually helping people. Because there are things they're finding out that are actually causing the disease to be less powerful and less crippling. And you know, I think over time we're going to get further on the cure, eventually get to a vaccine. But, you know, we've dealt with viruses for generations. It's nothing new. Yeah. And, you know, years ago and generations ago, it would take out a quarter of the population or something, you know, or crazy numbers to 2% of the population died, I think, from the Spanish flu in the early 1900s or so, right? And, you know, so now, obviously we have better healthcare, we have better hygiene, and we have better systems, and we're handling this better than ever. And, you know, people say these numbers of hundreds of thousands of people dying, and I get it. It's scary. It's sad. But people die every day from lots of different things. And we have to recognize there's a cost of life if we're going to kill our economy. You know, depression, suicide, loss of healthcare, loss of housing. And that kills people too, right? And it kills healthy people, right? People like me and you, right? And that's what's scary also. So where's that middle point? And it's funny, if you're on the right, you know, you want to go out and live your life. If you're on the left, you want to stay in and listen to the government. It's really, we are in our tribes, you know, and it shows.
And to that point, I read an article the other day on LinkedIn that talked specifically about that. Is that I don't remember who did the actual study, but it basically said that the death toll from shutting down the economy was 140% greater than that of actual people dying from COVID-19. And they went into it was a very detailed article about depression, getting hooked on drugs and all this other stuff that people can commit suicide and all this. And I'm sitting there thinking, I never even thought about that. I keep hearing, because I don't watch the news. My wife updates me, or somebody will update me on whatever's going on, but I don't necessarily. Yeah, I think I'm just a happier person for it. It's something I did about a decade ago, and it's been life-changing for me.
Wow.
So
you're ahead of the curve there. Wow.
I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week about that time, and that was one of the few things that I got from that book. The rest of it was almost pure nonsense, but I don't know.
Answer your emails once a week. Like, yeah, I don't know if you've ever ran a real estate investment company, but if I don't respond to my investor for a week, he's going to take his money elsewhere,
Yeah, he definitely won me over by the catchy title.
Yeah.
But one thing I did was I unplugged from the news, and it's been great ever since. But let's talk more about your business in New Jersey, right? So you're syndicating out, and I want to focus on the syndication part because that, quite frankly, that's what interests me the most. You were a lot further. Talk about being ahead of the curve. You're a lot further along down your journey of passive cash flow and real estate investing than I am. So I want to focus on syndication because that's where I'm going to do more of. Right. I'm a general partner in 142 unit. I'm a limited partner in 2 others, bringing the total of about 300 and something units that I'm a part of in one fashion or another. But this year, I want to focus on more, getting more active in the general partner side and finding deals and locating deals. One of the things that I know on your website, it talks about exclusive off-market deals. Right. And I found this on peoplescapitalgroup.com, but exclusive off-market deals. Now, the one deal that I was part of, general partner on, it was an off-market deal as well. Right. Sure. And it happened to be a realtor connection to another realtor. And then he was like, well, I've kind of got this listing, but I don't, blah, blah, blah. We've had it on the market. It didn't sell. We ended up scooping it up for a pretty good discount. And I guess the timing was just right. But to me, that was a needle in a haystack, right? And that was in 2017. So how do you go about finding some of these? And don't let everything out of the bag, obviously, right? But how do you go about finding these off-market deals? What do you do?
Well, it is not cheap. We spend a lot of money on direct mail marketing to older landlords, and it takes sometimes years to develop relationships with them. Often we deal with their shenanigans a little bit off the bat, and we kind of
I laugh because I know exactly what you're talking about, but dive into the mom and pop older landlord shenanigans. What do you mean by that?
So many shenanigans, and there's no better word to explain it but shenanigans. Literally, it's just constant. I mean, when we do buy deals through brokers, and I actually prefer to go through a broker who has an off-market deal, a pocket listing that's not on LoopNet,
Right.
And that can also be considered off-market, even if it's through a broker, like you were saying. And there's different scenarios. Maybe it's an expired listing where that's a great way to get deals too. But I would say some of the best real estate deals I've ever found are just through direct mail marketing to older landlords and owners. And I do that in residential real estate for singles and twos. And I do that for properties up to 5 or 10 million here in North Jersey as well. But it's not cheap. It'll cost me about $10,000 in direct mail marketing to find that deal. It's a lot of time wasted, a lot of shenanigans, a lot of people that are going to call you up and say, I'm ready to sell. You go look at your property, you do hours of due diligence, you present a number, you're back and forth, you settle on a number, and then you're like, oh, I called up my sister and she said she's going to buy it. And I'm like, oh, the sister this whole time. And then she's like, she doesn't have any money, but I'm gonna give it to her, or whatever the story. And then, or a lot of times, whatever it is, they called up their realtor friend who told them we were lowballing them, and then they're like, well, they're gonna give me 5% more and charge a 5% commission, so I'm gonna go with them. You're getting the same amount at the end. Right now we're dealing with an 80-year-old owner. He's having trouble walking up the steps, and that's why he's selling us the real estate. And he gave us a pretty good price off the bat, and we found a couple things at the home inspection. And he's a hard negotiator. His attitude the whole time has been, you don't like it, there's the door. His whole
most
time.
of them are like that. My very limited experience has been these guys. I hope that I'm not like that one day. Although if my wife were to scoot in here, she'd go, well, too late, but these guys, that is a great phrase. They are hard negotiators. They don't care if you're not going to buy it, somebody else will, kind of thing. Right.
Right. And like, oh, you told us the rent roll with, or whatever, one of your tenants isn't paying. So that affects your cap rate. You say cap rate to an 80-year-old landlord. He's like, cap what? We agreed on 9, and that's the number we agreed. You shook my hand, and we'll be like, you have to get the green card. It's in the contract or whatever. And he'll be like, well, I changed my mind on the green card. Like, we're closing in 2 weeks. You can't do that. And he's like, there's the door, you just have to decide. What's the
green card, by the way? What is the green card?
So in New Jersey, every 5 years, the state comes out and inspects your property. Oh, wow. Randomly. They don't even tell you when they're coming out. They just send an inspector out to your property. They knock on the door. And if one of your tenants happens to let them in, they go through whatever they can go through. You need slow closed doors. You need hardwired spoke and carbons. You need handrails, all the whistles and bells, right?
Wow.
And then the tenant, I've had a tenant let them into the basement. And I've had tenants complain about everything right to left, and they write that all down. And then they get in and knock on all the doors. And it's a random inspection of your property every 5 years by the state, which they then create a list of violations, not even notifying you about. You are responsible for calling them every 5 years, figuring out if they inspected your property, if there's any violations, what type of fees are on top of that. And I've had them try and hit us for $20,000 in fees and penalties for something they never even notified us about. And they're like, oh, well, you were supposed to call, so you haven't called us for 3 years. So 20 grand.
Wow. Did you end up having to pay 20 grand?
Nope. We hired an attorney. We got to negotiate down to 8.
Good.
After paying him 2.
Yeah. No, awesome. So about half price there for shenanigans, for government shenanigans.
Government shenanigans, landlord shenanigans. But that's our job, man, to know these markets. Now we know to call the green card department, whenever you buy a property, because your title company will likely not call the green card department. Your attorney may not think of it either. And so as a buyer in New Jersey, that's $1 million tip. 3 units and up requires a green card. 3 units and up. Check that out.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of green cards existing anywhere. But they don't exist in Florida, and I know they don't exist in Alabama. So
yeah. One time I had someone who paid $30,000 to a guru who will remain nameless, and we've all heard of him though. And they're buying real estate in New Jersey, and he's like, asked his coach for 30 grand. What's a green card? He's like, oh, you don't have to worry about that. That's a immigration thing. It's nothing to do with real estate. And he got nailed on green card violations years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
These old gurus.
Dime a dozen.
They are, man. I could talk to you for hours about how you're separating yourself from those folks and probably pick your brain, but want to stick with the real estate because I know that's what the folks are wanting to hear. Sure. You are a syndicator, right? So you go find these deals, you put them together, and then you raise money for the down payment, actually to purchase the property, do whatever value add, if you're doing value add for that deal, whatnot. What does a typical deal structure look like for you? And if I'm a potential investor, what am I going to get in return?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
So, yeah, absolutely. And there's basically 2 different ways that syndications are normally created. Large syndications that buy $50 million, $100 million, $200 million properties tend to pool capital together and have something called a preferred rate of return, where the first profits coming out of the building, the first positive cash flow, goes to the passive investors until they earn a certain return, maybe a 6% return on investment. And then after that, the monies are dispersed out to the investors. equally, and the operators as well. However, their split is maybe a 30-70 or something like that, or 50-50 to operators and investors. Now, that's a good strategy for large funds that are dealing with lots of investors. And those funds tend to charge something called an asset management fee, right? And that might be 1 or 2% of the money they raise, or the cost of the building. And they pay themselves that every year. Okay, maybe it's broken out monthly, but they get that asset management fee, kind of like a financial advisor. It takes 1 to 2% off the top, or a stockbroker, right? Now, Seth and I never liked that model, because you're basically paying yourself to be a money manager, right? You're taking a fee off the top, and listen, you might do great with the asset, and your investors might love their pref return, and maybe they get a little more kicker on top, you know, and that's good for a lot of investors, and that's good for those funds. But that's not how we structure ours. You know, we believe in performance pay. So Seth and I get paid when we close on a property, because we've raised all the capital and personally guaranteed the bank.
Right.
We spent 20 grand to find it, and looked at 400 shitty deals, brought you one, you know, and I mean, bad deals. And
it's okay. There are shitty deals out there. So.
Yeah, that's it, man. And, you know, so that's it. But basically we charge, you know, an acquisition fee when we close, which is 2% of the sale price. We do not charge an asset management fee, because we don't believe on getting paid whether you did your job right or not, right? We get paid when our investors get paid on positive cash flow. You know, we have to hit that positive cash flow mark to get our pay, our piece of the cash flow. We have to hit that refinance appraisal value to get that cash out refinance, you know? So it's performance pay. If we don't perform, we don't get paid. You know, and that's how humans work. That's how the brain works. That gets me out of bed in the morning, and that keeps me honest when I put projections out there 5 years in advance. You know, I need to be honest with those numbers.
Yeah. And are most of these deals, I know there's 2 different types of syndications, right? As far as the SEC is concerned, 501c and 501e. I'm butchering it. I haven't looked it up in a while.
Yep. C and B, and there's an A. Yep.
Yeah. Are most of these where you have to be an accredited investor of $1 million in net worth, or 200,000 in income sort of deal?
No, we actually kind of pride ourselves on working with a smaller non-accredited investor. We do have to work with sophisticated investors, which is essentially the next level down from accredited. So if you have a minimum of $30,000, you understand the investment opportunity, meaning you kind of review the offering memorandum, and we talk to you about it at length. And you have some experience in the asset class, meaning owning a home, or maybe you bought an income property. It's a little gray, honestly, but that would qualify you to invest.
It is definitely gray, and for that reason, I'm going to say you or I are not lawyers, right? So if you're listening to this and you think, "Oh, I qualify as a sophisticated investor," I don't know that you do. Aaron doesn't know that if you do, and you used air quotes around sophisticated, right? So I'm in agreement with you. Yeah, it's sophisticated. There is a gray definition in there, and your legal team will help you figure that out, right? And your CPA will definitely help you figure that out. So,
exactly. And like another thing, one more thing too, I like to do is I don't like to take your entire investment, right? So one thing you want to ask someone, if you're out there being an operator or raising capital, the most rule of thumb is, hey, do you need this money to live on, right? Are you expecting to live on the proceeds of this investment? And if those answers are yes to either one, you really have to hit the brakes and say, listen, I'd love to work with your capital. I'd love to build your wealth, but instead of giving me 100% of your investment capital, give me 50%, hold on to the other 50% and diversify, or maybe put together some more capital, and we'll talk in a year or two. So that's what we try to do. I don't really want to take any more than 50% of someone's available investment capital, whether it's their IRA or savings. So that's part of our qualification process, is to see what your wealth is without being too intrusive or make it too frustrating. But we do want to figure out, that, and make sure it's smart investment for you and for us.
Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. I think that question is incredible. I don't know that I've heard anybody else ask it that way. So that is all. You saw me writing it down. I'm stealing that from you.
Yeah. Well, I love your name, W2 Capitalist, because that's it, right? I mean, that's the people we're trying to connect with. Some of my best investors are doctors and dentists, and they're some of the sharpest, greatest minds that are saving our lives right now, really every day. But now we're actually giving them recognition for it. And right, doctors, we like you. That's right. But they're great, you know, and they're so smart. But I meet doctors that don't know what the term ROI means, right? I mean, they could do open heart surgery on you or fix your brain, but they don't know what the term ROI means.
They don't know how to run a business, right?
Right.
Which is what this is. Right.
Right.
They don't know how to deal with tenants. They don't know how to run a business. And like you said, you've got the leg up on your competition because you guys have your own management company, which is a key part of.
Well, it's not even, and we're not knocking it, doctors. I'm saying that they're actually, it's a shame that they're not taught financial education, right? And really, none of us are taught financial education. I'm an entrepreneur major at Rowan University, and I learned what debits and credits are, you know, but now when it's time for taxes, I call my accountant anyway. But basically, you know, we weren't taught how to build wealth, what wealth creation is, and why the wealthier get wealthier. And the W-2s in the world can make $500,000 a year and work 80 hours a week, but you're never really going to get ahead if you don't know how to build wealth. And that's what I learned after college, quite frankly. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the most I've learned about wealth building started with when you mentioned it earlier, when I picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad about 6 years ago. I was like, wow, aha moment right there. I've got to revamp this whole thing that I was thinking of on how to build wealth for our family. So when you talk about some of your best investors are doctors and whatnot, how do you approach these guys about investing? How do you get them on board? Right.
Yes, doctors are one of the hardest groups to access because, quite frankly, everyone's trying to get their attention, you know, financial advisors, you name it, right? And we're up against guys like Merrill Lynch and some JP Morgan, you know, some real heavy hitters that it doesn't matter how smart a money advisor you are, you know, a money manager, if you got JP Morgan behind you, you're trusted. You know,
it's a brand, it's a brand name, brand recognition thing, right?
Incredible brand, right? So we're, you know, in that space, we're up against individuals like that. But you know, you have to come off as a source of knowledge, right? A thought leader, an educator. I just wrote an ebook. It took me hours to write it. It's on the internet for free. You can go to peoplescapitalgroup.com and click it and download it, and boom, there it is. 30 pages of Aaron's, you know, 10 years of real estate knowledge in one for free. You know, would I love to charge $50 a download? Absolutely, especially in these tough times. But that's not how this business is done, at least on our side. You know, we are a little different than a lot of other our competitors out there. I won't call them gurus, but our competitors out there. And,
a great distinguishing factor there. I love it. I love
it. You know, we consciously don't sell coaching, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking guys that do, but we don't do the coaching. We don't do the books. We don't do the CDs. Maybe one day we will, but I also consciously didn't build an education business because what I found was the doctors and people out there, first of all, they really don't want to buy your book or CD, and they don't really need to dive into the real estate industry and know A, B, and C cap rates and collections and vacancy and fractions and this and that, you know, emerging, you know, they can learn as much as they want about that, but they don't necessarily have to know every moving piece of real estate investment, right? That's in your job as operators. So first of all, that's overkill. And most of the people that actually buy that stuff don't really dig into it all that much. And secondly, you can only sell so many things, right? We are selling a passive investment in a New Jersey apartment building and a nice turnkey opportunity to break into this market, right? And that's it. So if I'm saying, oh, by the way, you could buy this for here, you could do for $99 a month, you can get, you know, now you're kind of selling too many things. So I think first of all, you want to come off as a thought leader that is an open book. Secondly, don't start with selling something, start with offering something to them. You know, thirdly, just build that relationship. I had a 90-minute podcast yesterday with a doctor, Dr. Gordon Chu, who you're going to see come out in the Passive Cash Flow podcast next 3 weeks. We have a 30-minute episodes coming out. And he's a multimillionaire, inventor, doctor, scientist, incredible guy. And, you know, listen, he may or may not invest in People's Capital Group. It doesn't really matter. I'm building a relationship with this individual. And at no time have I really said, hey, you know, do you want to invest? He knows what I do. He knows what we have going on. You know, for high net worth individuals, you don't really ask for the sale. You're just a resource. So eventually they will ask you for the sale.
Yeah. So I like what you said. That one thing I'm beginning to develop as I'm sitting here listening to talk, you are super laser focused. you focus just in New Jersey, right? Where a lot of syndicators kind of go where the deals are. You focus just on providing multifamily opportunities, right? And you focus on not the coaching piece, right? And now I will defend the coaching piece for just a little bit. I'm not necessarily a coach, right? I do host a mastermind, and everybody that I interview to come into the mastermind, I'll tell them that the best calls that we have, and it's all virtual, right, is when I am just guiding the call to make sure we stay on time and we're not there until midnight, although that's happened before, is when I back away and these guys just help one another out and they go after it. So it's not really coaching, but it is just a virtual meetup, right? Which they are hugely beneficial if you're doing it virtually or if you're in person, which hopefully we'll get back to the in-person piece soon. For those who like to go in person, I'm not one of those guys.
Absolutely. I think what I was getting at is, like, that's a great way, and that's something that actually I might be interested in, like a mastermind group like that. So, or something like that. I could talk more about that, but that's a great resource, right? And and people are so hungry for knowledge in real estate, and people will pay for knowledge because college costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it is fair to charge.
It should it should not. Don't get me on that kick. Yeah.
No, it's a waste of money, right? I put my kids becoming a plumber, HVAC tech. Yeah.
So the best advice my dad ever gave me, I was a freshman in high school. And so he was a fireman, and most firemen on the side, they work a second job, right? So he had connections to plumbers, electricians, and just general contractors. And he told me when I started my freshman year of high school, I was like, man, I want to get a job. I want some money. And he goes, well, here's what you need to do. You need to, every summer, one summer you need to go work for a plumber. One summer you need to work for an electrician. One summer you need to work for a general contractor. I've got all the people that I know and trust that already do this. He's been working with them for years. I was like, nope, I'm too good for that. Best advice somebody ever gave me, and I did not take it. And I'm just thinking how different, I would have been today if I would have done that. I would know the trade.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only time I lost money in real estate was when I was hiring contractors, general contractors, and guys were renovating my properties, our properties, Seth and I. And we didn't know more or enough about construction to manage them properly, right? They would say, oh, this is going to cost X, Y, Z. And you have 14 projects going on. You don't have time to figure out exactly what he's paying for materials, exactly what his labor is going to, that's his job to give us a fair, good price. And so we grew very quickly flipping houses, and we were great at flipping small and mid-sized houses. And then we said, hey, we're such good house flippers. Why don't we flip $1 million homes, around 2015 or so? And we used the same inner city contractors to then go do the renovations on those big $1 million homes out in the suburbs, because they said, of course we could do that. Not only can we do it, sir, we could do it for half the price your high-end contractors are telling you, because they don't know what they're talking about. And we're like, wow, okay, we can make a killing on this $1 million flip. And they gutted the entire property and then realized that it's going to cost, it gave us even a higher price than the high-end guy who was right the first time. And, we really lost our shirt on it. So we made good to our investors. We learned a lot from the experience, but I learned more from those mistakes. And it's always the contractors you hire, because you're basically running a construction company, right? And another thing about what a lot of people teach out there is go flip houses. It's an easy buck in real estate. And the hardest buck I've ever made was flipping a house. The hardest dollar.
I have yet to flip a house, and I don't know that I'm going to get there. I get this itch every now and then to do something, and my wife's like, well, I got this project that we can go do here. If you want to satisfy that craving. I was like, okay, let's go do it.
Oh, man.
We consider this our our second live-in flip.
Right.
Basically, we tore down a bunch of walls and did all that stuff. But anyway, one of the things you talk about on your website too is a low monthly investment, or not monthly, a low minimum. Can't even read my own handwriting. Low minimum investment amount. So when somebody wants to come to you and say, hey, I'm interested looking at your portfolio or the next deal you're bringing in, what does low mean? Put an actual number around it for me.
So our minimum investment is $30,000. And again, that kind of goes back to, you want investors that are on solid financial footing, but you don't have to be a millionaire. One of our investors is a contractor that we work with. And he definitely falls in the category of sophisticated investor, and he's been investing with us for years. He loves it. So, that makes it, a lot of our investors are realtors that just had a big closing and put the full check into the investment there, and it's a way for them to kind of put that money away and not blow it on, luxury items, vacations, and just invest it properly. So, yeah, I mean, but less than 30,000 is tough, so that is our minimum investment. And for people that have less than that, you can look at different websites like Fundrise or whatnot. And then the other thing we see, a lot of people that put out, like Grant Cardone allows you to invest like $5,000 or something. But I think that's a risk, because a lot of those investors that only have $5,000 to invest do need that money to live on, or need the returns. And if you're not paying out monthly returns right now and people are relying on that to live on, then that's a risk.
What do you guys do for distributions? Do you do a monthly? I've seen monthly, which I think is pretty aggressive, but then most people do like a quarterly distribution. What do you guys focus on?
We do quarterly distributions. It is much easier. And quite frankly, if you're spending all that money on bookkeeping and accounting to do the monthly distribution, it actually eats away, that's more operating costs. So by keeping our operating costs low, we can charge a very low management fee, about 2/3 what we would normally be paying a management company. And of course, our management company is going to be much more aggressive than any other.
Right.
So not only do we keep tight management of the building, but we keep that cost much lower than normally would have been. And that just allows the building to perform better.
Gotcha. So one last question I want to ask you, something else from your website, again, peoplescapitalgroup.com. I think it was on a headline, what is it? Better results than a 401k. Now, up until 3 months ago, that would have been a hard sell, right? Because the stock market was just booming and booming and booming.
Right.
And I don't know how you got away with it then, but I definitely see how you could get away with it now, because if you had money in stocks, or 401k or whatnot, and you left it in there. Now, what money manager will tell you is that just don't look at it. Just 10 years, it's going to come back. Blah blah blah. I'm not that. What's the phrase I'm looking for? I'm not willing to put my money into something and wait 10 years on it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Or just let it go up and down depending on what the next headline is.
Yeah.
You have no control over your stocks. I think I own $3,000 worth of stocks in my IRA. I'm not a stock guy. No interest in it. I like seeing my money go into tangible assets and inner city areas that I grew up around. Like Newark and Patterson. Like, these are kind of rough areas that we grew up around, and we're seeing them turn over and improve now. And we're playing a small role in that,
and feels good, really, doesn't it?
Cool. Yeah, I love that. And drive down, like, look at Newark. It's a city that really, 10 years ago, I was investing in Newark, and people would say, "Why are you investing there? It's got terrible schools and high crime," and it still does. But it just it just boomed. I mean, have you ever heard of Manhattan? It's 20 minutes down the road. Look at everything else around it. It's 3 times the cost of what this is. It's not rocket science. Real estate is simple. It's easy. It really is when it comes down to it. Look at a city and look at all the cities around it. If they're all 3 times the cost of that city, then you should probably buy the cheap city. Just don't buy the worst blocks where it looks like Afghanistan. Find a decent downtown area and manage it well and wait. Quite frankly, right?
But not 10 years. It's usually not. It's not usually not a 10-year turnaround. But when people invest with you, most, or at least every deal that I'm part of, those three I was talking about, they have a 5-year expected minimum, right? You're going to have the money in the deal for 5 years, with the expectation that within 3 to 5 years, we're either going to refinance the property and return your initial investment and still keep you on the as part of the investment group, and then you're just going to get those routinely quarterly dividend checks, or you sell the property in 5 years and you get the huge lump sum, right?
Well, so our strategy is always to buy, renovate, and refinance. Okay, our goal is to do 2 refinances over a 10-year period every 4 to 5 years, And at each refinance, the investor has the option to exit the investment. Okay, meaning he can just get out of the investment, sell his initial share in the LLC, so get back his initial $100,000 or whatever the investment is. Let's say you invest $100,000, and then 4 years later we do the refinance. All through that time period, you've collected a quarterly cash flow check, you've gotten tax depreciation at the end of the year, and then you get a big lump sum at the refinance. Okay, usually about a 36% return on investment or so around the refinance in one shot there. So at that point, the investor can get back their initial investment because we just harvested the equity growth, so they can get back their initial $100,000. They keep the, say, $50,000 in profits they made over the last 5 years between the cash flow and the refinance. And now at that time, they're going to have some tax burden, okay, because they've exited the investment, so they have to repay their tax depreciation. So as we learned in Rich Dad Poor Dad, the better strategy, the better tax strategy is to just stay invested and eventually, do another refinance down the road as we continue to reposition the property. And then year 15, we plan on doing a 1031 tax deference, selling the building, moving into a bigger building. So your initial investment is say $100,000, make it back in the first 8 to 10 years. And then by year 15, we're trading into a building twice that size and obviously makes twice the return. So that's another reason why I like this North Jersey market, because our investment strategy isn't 6 months or 1 year or even 5 years. It's 20 years, really, you know, and that's, we saw like Hoboken. You've probably heard of Hoboken, New Jersey, right? Mm-hmm. That's this area where 20 years ago, if you bought in Hoboken, people might be like, well, it's kind of a dicey area, but we can see it coming around. Now you'd be a millionaire, buddy. We wouldn't even be working right now if you bought in Hoboken 20 years ago. You'd be sitting on that beach, listening to my podcast.
Well, not right now. No, I take that back. They did open them back up like last week. So
hell, you'd have your own beach, Jay, if you bought Hoboken 20 years ago.
I wonder if I had a piece of property that backed up to the water, if they would arrest me for being out there. I don't know.
No, that's private property. You're allowed to be on your private property. If you get arrested on your private property, you call me up, okay?
Yeah. But there is some, and I don't know the rule, but there is some law that even though you own up to the water, I don't know. There's something that I need to
riparian rights, right?
Riparian rights. Something along those lines. I'm quickly going to get out of my knowledge base.
That's my real estate exam 10 years ago. Riparian rights. That's when the river pulls away your land, I think. And or when it gives you more land, like the deposits create more land. Gotcha. That's your land. Riparian rights.
Look at you. So so my wife had her real estate license right when we moved to Florida, and then I started studying, took the test, or took the practice exam, went and got my fingerprints did, had my picture taken, all that stuff, and I never signed up to take the actual test because she passed it on her first time, and I am not a good test taker. I am more of a doer, just really focusing on the process of everything. The more I do it, the more I'm going to understand it, the better I'm going to learn it. I'm not good at taking tests, and I knew I wasn't going to pass it. And I did not want to take it because I didn't want her holding that over my head for the rest of my life. So there's one thing I got you on. Anyway, that's awesome, man. Look at you 10 years ago.
I think that's the right thing, unless I mixed it up with something. But no, that real estate license, man, I'm glad I got it. I'd say the easiest dollar I ever made in real estate was by listing and selling homes. So if people are trying to get started and they want to learn the industry and make some money, that's a great way to do it. And I got started in the middle of a recession, which was really hard because I didn't make much money very quickly, but it forced me to learn short sales and bank-owned properties. And the only people buying houses were very savvy investors that I learned from and built relationships with them. And one day I said, hey, instead of buying this property and me making a couple percentage, why don't we invest in a building together and I'll make equity instead and you will as well. And that kind of launched the investment strategy.
That's awesome. That is so cool. Well, I know we're coming up here on time, and I want to make sure people know how to get in touch with you. We've mentioned peoplescapitalgroup.com a couple of times. What's the best way for people to reach out, Aaron? Ron, sorry.
Ron. Yeah, no, peoplescapitalgroup.com is our website there. You can check out our podcast, the Passive Cash Flow Podcast there. That's also on YouTube. And we have a YouTube channel called People's Capital Group on YouTube there. I try to put out a video every week. But our website, People's Capital Group, has all the information and people can sign up there and The first step is kind of scheduling a call to get you qualified to initial investor interview. And so if people want to do that, they can go to our website and put their information in, and we'll get in touch with you, and my staff will qualify you, and we'll set up a call. And, I'm an open book, my friend. I'm here to educate. And even if you're not quite ready to invest, just want to learn more about it, that's what we do here at PCG.
Best way to, I agree with you. Best way to do it, right, is just help other people. I had a potential mastermind member. Well, actually, I saw him sign up here just a little bit ago. He's like, man, I want to join, but I only have bought one property in my, this newfound thing that I want to get involved in real estate investing. I was like, yeah, what do you mean? He goes, I just don't think I'm ready for a mastermind. I said, no, you're perfect example for the mastermind. He goes, but I have nothing I can give. I was like, here's the thing. I said, if you ever wonder why most real estate investors want to continuously educate or don't mind mentoring you, excuse me, is that the more we teach, the more we learn. So it's not that you feel, I know you're probably going to feel like you're bugging people, because I did the same thing, but it's very reciprocal, right? The law of reciprocity comes into play. And the more you ask, the more we're able to teach you based off our experience, the more we're actually learning. And it's a weird concept for me to grasp, but it finally slapped me in the face about 1.5 years ago. And I'm with you. It just got to.
Sure. Well, when you teach something, even if it's your story or your business model, I've done over 30 podcasts on different podcasts, right? So I've been on over 30 different podcasts, and everyone's a little bit different, but for the most part, I explain my business model, I explain my story, and I explain my why. And it helps me actually understand, why am I busting my butt so hard? Why am I feeling like I'm hitting my head against a wall some days? Oh yeah, because I've been doing this for 10 years and there's been harder days. And, I have a passion for this, and I've always wanted to own those big apartment buildings. Ever since I was a little boy, my father owned a condo and this big complex, and I go and help him paint the walls and turnovers. And I said, I'm going to own a complex like this one day. And I had no idea how it worked or what it was, but I knew that was where my passion lied. And, as I grown into a man and figured that out a little more, it's been quite a journey. But by doing these podcasts and re-educating, people, and just explaining our story, it reiterates why we do what we do, and keeps us on track too. Like, kind of pinpoints our business model too, and our message. Yeah.
So I'd tell that story just to help anybody listening who wants to find out more about New Jersey investing. Go to peoplescapitalgroup.com, schedule a time with Aaron and his staff, because they are there. The more you're going to ask questions, the more it's going to help them out, the more they're going to help you out. So definitely do that. So, hey, Aaron, I've enjoyed it, man. I don't know that we've connected before this, but I'm definitely interested in what all you have going on. I've got a bunch of links I've got to look up now for the show notes to put in there for easy access for myself and for others. But thank you for being on here, and let's do this again real soon. Maybe post-COVID when things are back to normal, right?
Yeah. Hopefully sooner than later, right? Maybe we'll do a July 4th celebration here. We'll drink some Coronas.
I like it. There you go. All right, man. Happy Cinco DeMayo, and I will chat with you soon.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good one.
See you. Hey, 4 things before you get out of here today. Number 1, thank you for watching. Sincerely appreciate that. It helps with our ratings with YouTube and all that. And along those lines, speaking of helping with ratings, if you could just hit that like button for me, the little thumbs up, and also subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. If you are a subscriber, thank you very much. I appreciate that. We are trying to grow the presence here on YouTube, and this is you liking, subscribing, and commenting helps with that whole algorithm piece. So let us know. It also helps me know what kind of content you're interested in. And in the comment section, if you just list that one golden nugget that you took away from today's episode, that would really help me out and engage, right? I'll get an alert when you say something about the episode today, when you make it in the comment, and I will respond to you right away. And it'll be me. It won't be anybody else, I promise. And also, I can't let you get out of here today. This is point number 3, I think. I can't let you get out here today, but highlighting this affiliate for us, Deal Check, incredible piece of software. Whether you're doing BRRRRs, you're doing fix and flips, you're doing buy and holds, and buy and holds is single family and multifamily. I used it last week to underwrite an 8-unit deal, and I'm going to be using it for any of our properties up to a certain number. Probably after the 50 range, I get my real heavy duty calculator out that I'll use that, but I'm also going to then take that and put it in a deal check, because the graphs that and just the amount of data they put into the reports that you can provide banks. Hell, I even sent one to a seller. I was like, here's the number. I know you're probably not going to be happy about it, but here's why I sent it to you, because I'm trying to hit these numbers, and we're currently negotiating on that deal. So we'll see what happens. But we have an affiliate code in the description below. Make sure you use that. If you don't, just go to dealcheck.io from any browser, and you can be able to sign up there. Signing up is free, right? So you can use it. You only start paying for it once you need to start unlocking pieces of software. For what I do with it, I'm a buy and hold guy, so from what I need, it's $5 a month when I use the promo code W2CAP. So make sure, whether you use our affiliate link or not, that you use that promo code, because it's going to give you 25% off either the monthly subscription you sign up for, or the annual. They've got two different options. The annual gives you a little bit better discount anyway. The fourth thing is Operation Underground Railroad. If you've listened to anything that I've been doing for the last year, you know that I highly support this organization. Again, the promo code W2CAP, you can text that to 41404, and you're going to get an immediate response link back to our fundraiser page, so you can see what we're doing for them. But also from there, you can hop over and see what all they're about. Highly recommend you follow these guys on social media and everything like that, because they're just ridding the world of not only human trafficking, but more specifically child sex trafficking, which is the most disgusting thing that I can ever think of, that this goes on. My heart goes out to those kids, and that's why I support them, right? Having 3 of my own, I just can't imagine them being in that environment. I'll give you a bonus. Okay, that was the 4 things, right? So like, follow, subscribe is number 1. 2, deal check was number 2, I think. I'm losing count here. OUR was number 3. The 5th, whatever the next number is, the 4th or 5th thing, is my hat has been crooked this entire time, and I'm not going to do anything about it. It's fine. It's okay. All right. On a serious note, let's get to work.